Hey out there survivors, and welcome back to Let's Survive. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different than the usual. We normally do reviews of video games. We haven't really done reviews of products. Now I will start by saying that this is not a sponsored review or anything of the sort. The product that I'm going to be speaking about, I was actively involved in the Kickstarter. I paid for this, but I am excited about it. So I wanted to talk about this device and the benefits and downsides and drawbacks of it, and also even show you some clips of me setting it up so that might help you with getting it set up for yourself. So yeah, without much further ado, I am going to talk about the Genki Shadowcast console. Come on, focus up, focus. The Genki Shadowcast console laptop link, which is this little guy right here, this little device, which has a USB-C on that side and it has a HDMI on this side. So the reason I made it clear about like the USB-C on one side and the HDMI on the other side is because that is key or integral to what this device actually does. So what this device does, to continue this along, is that it takes a signal from your PlayStation, your Xbox, your Switch, any HDMI device effectively. It takes that in and it outputs it to a USB feed. If you use software like OBS or any kind of recording software like that, you can take this in as its own feed, like a capture card. This is effectively a $40 capture card. But even more so than that, if you're not looking for something to use for streaming, or you just want to, let's say you wanted your laptop as a second screen for your PlayStation because your wife watches Bones a lot. I'm calling you out, Kathy. I do love watching Bones with you though. If the TV is always in use, you have kids, whatever, it's always, you can't get time to sit down and play what games you want to play. This will allow you to literally run that through without any software like OBS, etc. Basically, there's a piece of software that you can download from Genki Things called Genki Arcade, and that will just open up on your system, and you'll be able to go in, open up Genki Arcade and fiddle with the settings and play your PlayStation, your Switch, whatever, on your laptop screen or on your computer screen or whatever. When I heard about this device, I obviously was like, okay, that sounds like something that I need. So I invested the $40 at Kickstarter to back this. And there was definitely some skepticism in my mind. There was definitely some like reservations. I didn't believe it would hold up under scrutiny, but I will say that this little device has been a lifesaver. Is it perfect? No. There are downsides, there are drawbacks, but when you consider that the price difference between this and something like the Elgato HD60S is like 140 euros of a difference, you know, an Elgato HD60S is about 180 euros, this is 40. There are of course going to be drawbacks. It's not going to, under scrutiny, it's not going to compare with a high-end capture card. But that's not who this is aimed at. As I said, this is aimed as a second screen device, to enable you to turn your consoles, etc. into a second screen device and your laptop. But it's also a really good budget level content creation, streamer, YouTube channel, whatever solution. So let's talk about it. So on the back of the box, it says that it has a HDMI input of 4K at 30 frames per second or 1080p at 60 frames a second. And it says the output resolution to USB is 1080p at 60 frames per second, right? I'm going to talk about a little bit of the negatives or a little bit of the drawbacks that I've experienced with this first, but don't be discouraged. I'm not here to just completely shite all over this thing. But what I will say is that I did my playthrough of Resident Evil Village on PS5 using this through my PC. Now, in Genki Arcade, there is an option for prioritized resolution. There's an option for prioritized performance. Now, I didn't understand that was literally changing the active resolution of the game seemingly, because it ran so smooth, 60 frames per second on prioritized performance, that's what I went with. But then when I actually went in and I pulled it in through OBS and looked, when you are going for prioritized performance, you're actually getting a 720p resolution effectively. I don't know whether it's downscaling or what, but you're not getting a true HD 1080p signal, which, as it says, it does output apparently at 1080p 60 fps, and that's the inputs 1080p 60 fps. I was playing Resident Evil Village at 1080p at 60 frames per second, and I found that the performance when I was in high performance or high resolution mode was not very good. It was sluggish, it was laggy, and there was kind of, it felt like it was running at 30 frames per second. So I ended up having to knock it into prioritize performance mode. It was fine. I want to say, like, at no point was I like, oh my god, this sucks, this is awful. I could have literally taken it out and plugged it into my Razer Ripsaw capture card if that was the case. It was really solid. It was really solid. It didn't drop. It didn't cause any issues, which again with other capture cards I've had that issue of drops, signal drops, other problems. You know what I mean? This worked perfectly for my whole playthrough. I've been using it for streaming my console games lately, rather than I'm using my capture card for my new DSLR camera. So this was a nice capture card solution. But I will say that if you're looking for 4K 60 frames per second, as we say, it doesn't actually provide that, it tells you that itself. But if that's what you need, this is not going to provide you with what you're looking for. But if you're like me and you generally play things at 1080p 60 frames per second, this will serve perfectly well. And now I'll also say something very odd is that with Village I had those performance issues, but when I played something like Crash Bandicoot Insane Collection through the PS5, I didn't have those issues at 1080p 60 frames per second. It performed perfectly coming in as a capture device in OBS. But now I'm going to move into the positives, because I've kind of gotten that one issue that I've dealt with right out of the way, and we're going to talk about positives. So strap yourselves in and get ready for this, okay? So first of all, as one of the major positives about this, it is so incredibly easy to set up. Like, you plug it into the back of your system, you plug a USB cable into it, and you plug that same USB into your computer or your laptop or whatever it is that you're using. And then either you go in through OBS or you go in through the Genki Arcade app, but there you go, right away you have the footage from the game running on your device. It's so simple, there's no real setup involved in it. You might have to configure it and mess with it a little bit if there's specifics that you want. Like, as I say, if you want 1080p at 60 frames per second and you're noticing that it might be a bit sluggish through the Genki Arcade app, you might have to run it through something like OBS as its own device, just as a heads up. It's super portable. It's super easy to bring anywhere. I'm planning on going on a couple of vacations and stuff during the summer, but knowing that I can literally throw my PS5 or my Switch or whatever into a bag with my laptop and know that on vacation I can sit down and play Resident Evil Village or whatever it might be is really, really cool. So, I mean, that is a major advantage and a major bonus. In terms of, as I say, if you're a starting out content creator, starting out streamer, and you're like, I really think I would like to try Twitch streaming, or I think I would like to try and do, YouTube videos about stuff, it can be a lot to ask to sink 100. I think my Razer Ripsaw was $130, and as I say, an Elgato HD60 is about 180. So, like, it can be a large investment for something you're not necessarily 100% confident you want to do. So getting this for 40, or I think it might be $50 on general release now, because I think it was 40 for Kickstarter. But even if it's $50, this will give you all the things that you need to try streaming or content creation out. And then if you like it and you enjoy it, maybe you might want to upgrade to a bigger, better, faster capture card. But what this will always be is something that you can still use as a second screen. Again, right, I could bring my Razer Ripsaw on holidays with me and go through that. But there's a lot more to it. You have your HDMI in, your HDMI out. It's not a simple plug and play solution. That is the best thing I can say about the Genki Shadowcast, is that it is a simple plug and play solution for streaming and content creation. If you have any questions about setup, if you find yourself you've gotten a Genki Shadowcast and you want advice on setup, like if you're troubleshooting some issue, I haven't really had many issues with this, but I have had, if there is something that you're struggling with, for example, I used it to output a video signal from my MacBook to my computer because I wanted to play a game on my MacBook. I know that's so weird, right? But yes, I did. I wanted to play a game from my MacBook on my PC, so I've been through I've troubleshot a couple of issues. So if there's anything you'd like to know, please feel free in the comments to ask questions, because I'd like to share any problem solving tips I can. I'm not going to put an arbitrary review score on this one, but what I'll say is that I hope that this video has helped you kind of, if you are looking at the Shadowcast, or you are somebody who's looking to get into content creation, that this at least gives you an idea of something that can get you in at a budget level, and how good or how bad or how helpful it can be. I want to say a massive thank you to Genki Things for creating this, especially during the pandemic. The fact that they were working through the pandemic on creating this to enable small content creators an alternative to the mega expensive capture cards is super awesome. As I say, this is not paid content or promoted content. This is just me being a very genuine person, which anybody that watches the channel or knows me will know that's what I am. But yeah, I do extend my deepest gratitude and thanks to the creators of the Shadowcast for their efforts. If you liked this video, if it helped you out, if you enjoyed watching it, or you got a Shadowcast and I can help with setup or anything like that, please hit the thumbs up. And also, if this is your first time here or this has helped you in any way, it would be incredible if you could hit that subscribe button. It really, really helps me. We're getting close to the 1,000 subscribers, which is something that it's not an end goal for me. And as a matter of fact, it literally is the beginning in a lot of ways. But yeah, it's just a milestone that we're really excited to hit here. So if you did enjoy the content, please hit that subscribe button. It really, really, really does help. That is my review of the Genki Shadowcast. Fantastic little device. Has its drawbacks, has its limitations, but there is no cheaper, more efficient, more kind of easy route into content creation right now, in my opinion, than this little device. And I personally, because I got like a couple of discount codes, etc., as a Kickstarter backer, I'm going to be grabbing some for some of my content creator friends to try and make their lives a little bit easier too. Look at that. Like, that just goes into my bag, and that is my screen capture, screen gameplay solution. Just this and a USB-C cable. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and as per always, I will finish this whole review up by saying what I always say, which is let's survive together out there, folks, and peace out.